Good morning guys! Magandang araw mga kamananaps ug maayong buntag ka pamilya. I am Jackie. I will be your MC for anything else. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our dearest advisors, Madam Wong and Dr. Pistanio, our Diplis Chairman, Mr. Leo M. Antiporta, and our Diplis teachers, our FB Live viewers, hello, hello, and especially to our speaker, welcome and good morning. I formally welcome you to our webinar today entitled Career Options, Am I In or Out? Early Job Prospects and Psychology Related Careers in the Midst of Pandemic. So in this past few months, we have experienced dramatic changes in our lives that let us decide that if we should move forward or just hide and retreat. So imagine guys, OGT done, proposal hearing and oral defense done, graduation done, but still COVID is still in the house. And sad, diba? So, and if you are still worried about your dream careers because COVID is still here, let this webinar be your vaccine. But before that, we have webinar rules to follow to keep us organized and successful. So, first of all, I would like to request everyone to stay muted so that you will not be distracted from any noises to listening to our webinar today. And make sure to pay attention and be interactive if needed. Also, don't forget to tap your attendance and most importantly, relax and enjoy this webinar. So without further ado, let me call on Miss Kate to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Miss Jackie. So, we are honored to present our speaker for today's webinar. She is a holder of a postgraduate diploma in Human Capital Management, School of Professional and Continuing Education from De La Salle College of St. Benoit from September 11, 2010 to July 9, 2011. She is now a HR mentor, corporate and creative arts consultant, entrepreneur, and TFL communication coach, and the creator and lead administrator of HR Shouts and Whispers FB community and YouTube channel. Let us give a virtual applause to Ms. Maria Cristina Estacio Reclamado, CPP, CPHR, and TEFL. Good morning, Miss.
Yes, good morning to everyone, and good morning to the organizers of this webinar, especially to the group of Miss Kate, Mariber, and Jacqueline, and the rest of the gang. So, thank you for inviting me here. And to the faculty of the University of San Jose, Recoletos School of Arts and Sciences, Department of Psychology and Information Science. So maayong buntag sa inyong tanan. So I am talking to you this morning via this FB Live and webinar, both as an HR professional and as a person who is dealing with the challenges of the pandemic. As an HR professional, I also experienced the loss of a job. So we were able to survive it. However, I always say in my FB Live sessions that we had to close our modest BPO last year. And it was because we were also losing clients. Fortunately, I was able to maintain my clients both as a motivational and communication coach. And that's why my husband and I are afloat to this present day. Now, without undermining the problems Filipinos are facing today, I would say that we are very fortunate. And I thank God every day that my family is surviving the pandemic. One of its blessings is being able to reach out to college students like you and also to HR professionals. And I am able to do my advocacy. So every day we receive news of the rampage of the coronavirus. It is indeed getting closer to our homes. Personally, I have experienced the death of three of my friends. So they died because of COVID. And it was very unpredictable and unexpected. So I deal with my own set of fears by keeping busy with my job as a coach, HR consultant, and advocate. Like you, I would like to survive this period in one piece. Well, I'm smiling right now, but I'm telling you, like you, I am going through your pain. I am going through the same problems. One of the ways I deal with it mentally is by projecting towards the future. I find the time to calm my mind and just envision a time where I have accomplished my goals. Of course, I also envision that the coronavirus has been eradicated. How about you guys? Can I ask you, what are your plans for the future? Have you ever thought of the future? So we have 96 attendees now. So are you all students? I guess so. So have you ever thought of life after graduation? So I guess like the graduates of 2020 and 2021, it's going to be difficult to project the future because you receive a lot of news, a lot of bad news. However, we have to be hopeful that this thing will be over. And by having this venue, by having all these discussions, and we've actually taken it to the public forum, to the public fora, I hope that we are able to find solutions in coping up with the challenges of this era or this phase in our lives. So let me ask the group here, why did you take up psychology? What do you want to be after college? So I'll ask Kate because she's the one who invited me here. Why did you take up psychology?
First week, I really thought na psychology don't have math. And
Okay.
then, and then, in the long run, I realized na I wanted to be a psychiatrist.
So, psychiatrist. So, I suppose, okay, so the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, so one can prescribe medication, is that correct? And the other does coaching and counseling. Am I correct? So, I'll tell you a little bit of my background. So, before we continue with our talk, a lot of people think I'm a psychologist or I'm involved in psychology. However, my undergrad is rooted in sociology. I am a communication graduate, And my MA, I took up MA units in communication research. And with sociology, sociology and psychology, they are actually cousins. One deals with behavior, okay, as a product of one's nature, and the other deals with human behavior as a product of nurture. So, as a sociologist, I observe people. And when I actually was your age, I was not actually thinking of being a human resources professional. I was actually thinking of producing my own documentaries and exploring culture. So I wanted to produce documentaries and go to, well, observe ethnic minorities, bring their plight, and provide a voice for them. So that's what I was thinking when I was your age. However, middle of my career, I shifted to human resources because, well, my bosses thought that I was better in managing people. And I was also better in managing the budget. And that's where my adventure began as a human resources practitioner. So, how about Jacqueline? What were you thinking? Why did you take up psychology?
Ano po, miss, first, the same with Kate. Akala ko po walang math.
Ay, tumatakas kayo sa math. Okay, akala ko din walang math ang communication. Okay, but I had math, I think math 100. Okay, and I swear, I barely passed it because it had calculus. And then later on, when I was in communication, you would have some math, which is statistics. Because when you do thesis, you would have to have quantitative methods. So, wala kayong takas sa math. Yon. So, yung mga gustong tumakas sa math, one of the skills that will arm you in the future is mastery of two subjects, actually. It's communication and math. So, think of math as another form of language. And if you do that, you will not be scared of it. Because I also had to deal with math. As a human resources practitioner, I deal with business math. Walang takas talaga. Because you would have to be able to convince stakeholders to buy in your projects. And usually, you would have to talk the language of profit and loss. So, walang takas yan. And you later on, I will tell you how to be resilient in your career, and your foundations are in the mastery of those two subjects. So, wag kayong tatakas. Yung iba naman tumatakas sa communication or sa English kasi ayaw ng grammar. So, kailangan din nyo yan. Most of my work now, I coach OFWs. And these are OFWs who are seeking to migrate, also seeking jobs overseas. And they would have to go through the IELTS. And we also have to review grammar. So, walang takas dyan. So, yung mga ayaw ng mga ganyan, I have news for you. You have to face your fear. So, let's continue on. So, thank you, Kate, and thank you, Jackie, for candidly answering the question. So, we'll continue. So, today we're going to talk about your job prospects as a psychology graduate. So, let me just share my screen. So, earlier we answered why we went into psychology. Because tumatakas sa math. However, there are also deeper reasons for going into psychology. I actually took electives in psychology during my undergrad and my MA program. Psychology, you would give you information and some background on human behavior. That's true. It's about the nature of people. So even if I'm a sociologist, even if my background was in sociology, we were studying renowned psychologists. Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud. So that's all related. Communication and human nature, they're all related. Sinasabi lang nila, psychology is hard science and sociology is soft science. However, when you are reading a lot and you've actually tried to deconstruct the theories, isa lang ang sinasabi niyan. Why people behave like they do. Yun lang yung ina-answer ng psychology and sociology. And psychology has a lot of applications. First, of course, we want to understand why people do certain things. Second, in marketing, we also want to understand why consumers behave like that, like in a certain situation or certain phenomenon. So we want to study that phenomenon as well. What makes people buy things? Sino ang mga shopaholic dito? Sino yung palaging naglalasada, Shopee? Sino yung mga nag-online shopping? Oh, we try to also deconstruct and ask why they behave as such. Now, the demand for psychological services is actually increasing, especially when civilization, when modernization set in. Nakikita natin nagiging complex yung environment and the challenges are getting more insurmountable. Sometimes it's beginning to look like it's actually unsolvable. And we look to psychology, okay, for answers. So there's a high demand for psychological services, especially as we become a globalized industry. So, schools, hospitals, diba, and substance abuse centers, social services agencies, okay, is expected to fuel the demand for trained professionals. So, if you're taking up psychology, I think this is a good time for you to explore your job prospects. So there are three areas that are high in demand. So you have clinical psychology, school psychology, and you have industrial organizational psychology. So clinical psychology, yon, you become a psychiatrist and you treat those with mental disorders. School psychology, you become a school counselor. And then for industrial organizational psychology, you become an HR practitioner or you're an HR professional. So I have statistics here with the US Department of Labor's Bureau of Labor Statistics. And psychologists is expected to grow at a rate of about 14% between 2018 and 2028. So this is considered much faster than average growth. In the Philippines, it's unfortunate also, but actually the stigma is actually decreasing. Pero makikita natin that of course before the pandemic, uh, having to admit that you needed to go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, medyo nakakahiya. and people are embarrassed to do it because there's a stigma. However, because of these kinds of venues, we're talking about it. In my community, we advocate mental health. In fact, this Sunday, we are going to have a licensed psychologist, my colleague, Dr. Carlita De Gulia, and she's going to talk about dealing with loss and grief. And ngayon, pinag-uusapan na yan in public forum. Dati, parang nakakahiya i-admit na you lost your job or you were terminated. Dati nakakahiya i-admit that you saw a psychiatrist. However, in social media, if you look at the discussions there, people are talking about it, seeking advice, and maybe asking for referrals for professionals that can help them cope with what they are facing now: depression, anxiety, worry. So it has become the new normal, and we just have to deal with it. So here, I was able to get through Google your career paths. Okay, so as you can see, before, I'm actually a frustrated psychologist. And what I was thinking, I was actually discussing it with a colleague. I might even enroll in an MA for psychology. Because look at this. The demand, and these are your career paths. It's quite varied and it's quite lucrative. So in the West, psychology has a lot of applications, and it's actually close to communication. So look at this: copywriter, development assistant, market research analyst, media buyer, media planner, public relations specialist. So because with media, you look into why people consume information. What makes them favor a particular genre? So panahon ng eleksyon, well, actually, candidates will be looking to communication professionals to guide them on how to be more personable and approachable as a candidate. So, those are applications of psychology. When you have a master's degree, so this can open paths towards being an addictions counselor, AIDS counselor, career counselor, clinical counselor, marriage and family counselor, rehabilitation counselor. And as you get your PhD, of course, now you can replace your professors because you can be a college professor. You can even specialize in child psychology, can also specialize in industrial organizational psychology. It's more lucrative. You can become an HR consultant or a management consultant. So your field is actually rich and has a lot of career prospects. So consider yourself blessed that by avoiding math, you were able to open up yourself to more lucrative careers. Isn't that smart? So, there. So, to those who have questions, just feel free to type in your questions and then we will answer them later. So, as I've said, my field is in sociology. And I'm also blessed that this has opened a lot of career paths in me. So, what are the differences between sociology and psychology? So, they determine human nature, they determine the existence of humanity. So, psychology, we actually try to delve into an individual's mind and how they express themselves through personality and behavior. And with sociology, we look at how communities influence the behavior of the individual. So we take into account his roots, his family background, his community background. Tiga Metro Manila ba siya? Tiga Cebu ba siya? So that's the venue of sociology. And when we were studying communication, I'm not sure if you took it up, but we were exposed to the theories of these psychologists. So these are top psychologists, and they're still alive. I mean, most of them are still alive. Like Albert Bandura, so he was a proponent of social learning theory. So what did Albert Bandura say? Albert Bandura said that children children learn by being exposed within a group. Its applications in mass media is actually with the violence theories. Violence theories say that, well, if you have violence in media, this can affect and this can make children prone to also do violence themselves because they learn via mass media. So yun yung nagiging group nila. So yun yung application ni Albert Bandura in communication theory. Leon Festinger, okay, he was a proponent of the theories of cognitive dissonance. What is cognitive dissonance? So if what was said was in conflict with your values or your mindset, you tend to reject that. So yan yung sinasabi ni Leon Festinger. That's why in mass media and communications planners, what do? Yung mga strategists dyan, they try to match whatever they feel or whatever the research says that the audience wants to know and what the audience will try to purchase. So yan yung mga sinasabi nila, cognitive dissonance. Applications nito during elections period. And of course, we have Brenda Milner, who is the founder of neuropsychology. So in HR and then in communications, certain messages, okay, they trigger parts of the brain and then they're more palatable because they actually trigger certain parts of the brain and they want to, it actually makes people favor the message more. So yan yung sinasabi nila sa neuropsychology. So we actually are alike in some ways, okay? You are psychologist and I am a sociologist. The thing that makes your field more lucrative is right now we have a viral pandemic. However, the effects of this viral pandemic will shed to mental pandemic. It will create a mental pandemic in the years to come as people face uncertainties. So in the early part pa nga ng pandemic, we were actually facing a lot of uncertainties, worries, 'di ba? We don't know when the lockdowns will be lifted. So when we are able to go out. And of course, as we are quarantined and forced in a lockdown, we tend to face or deal with loneliness. So, you as psychologists, what you can do if you're done with your thesis and you're about to graduate, then try to focus on jobs or getting jobs that will actually help the country deal with an impending mental pandemic. Miss Kate, dyan sa Cebu, kamusta ang sitwasyon dyan?
Here, Miss Wala. Ano, Miss? Ako, wala kasi ako sa city, Miss, sa Cebu City, nasa province. And here sa Amo is, okay naman lang ang situation, light na lang ang pandemic, ang problem.
So, so that's good to hear. So I guess it's actually the business hubs that are facing problems. Kasi siksika ng mga tao. Like here in Metro Manila, okay, people kasi have a tendency to flock in economic centers or business hubs. And here in Metro Manila, alam naman natin melting pot ito ng lahat ng from the provinces na nagtatrabaho dito. And the lockdowns, okay, well, there's another wave of worry, there's another wave of fear because we don't know if aabot sa atin yung vaccine. So, yon, hindi natin alam kung kailan tayo mabavaccinate. However, I would like to remain hopeful that, syempre, aabot yan sa atin. There's such a thing as being positive in your outlook. Pagka-face ka ng mga problema, there's a saying, keep your head above water. It means that, syempre, you have to deal with it. You have to deal with the problem eyes wide open. However, you also have to protect your mindset. Okay? Kasi, if you are overwhelmed with worry, lalo kang matatalo. That's why I have students, I have young learners, I have all sorts of ages, okay? I coach them. I actually have a coachee who's about to graduate, and I coach him in dealing with job interviews, also trying to do mind setting. And nakikita ko, okay, before we met, before we started the sessions, he was very worried. Hindi niya alam kung makakakuha siya ng trabaho. Ang sinasabi ko, you have to also take care of your mind. Kasi pag sa utak pa lang, talo na kayo, talagang may effect yan. Kasi whatever you think of, it all starts with your mind. Even your action, okay? Like, this is how you would think about it, okay? Your action of eating, running, all your actions, they're all programmed in a part of your mind. Also, your willpower is in your mind. If you actually are overwhelmed with negative thoughts, when negativity sets in, I'm not a psychologist, but I do know one thing. If you think that you're going to lose, definitely you will lose. If you think you will fail, then you will definitely fail. Sabi nila false positivity, okay? Of course, when we do these things, we have to prepare for it. Have a foundation, diba? You guys are going to be college graduates, so that's enough foundation for you to compete with other graduates. It's a different scenario if you don't have a degree. It's going to be very difficult. That's why I tell people whatever happens, you have to get a degree. So, yeah, that's my only piece of advice for a graduating class. My speech is over. No, I'm just joking. So, now, it's all in the mind. That's why I have friends in our community. My moderators are of different professionals from different fields. So we have a business management moderator, We have those from neuro linguistic programming. We have a licensed psychologist. We have an educator. Those are our moderators and HR shouts and whispers. Because what we say when we coach people, when we answer their questions, we want to be holistic. But all those answers stem from one idea. It all starts in the mind. So control your mindset by thinking positive. So for the graduates of 2020 and 2021, it's going to be a tough time. Definitely. It's going to be tougher than my batch. My batch was 1992. When I graduated, actually when I graduated, I wasn't thinking of getting an office job. I was thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. However, I landed an office job because, well, you have to start somewhere. If you want to be an expert at something, again, build your foundation. You cannot be an expert overnight. Now, for many young professionals, definitely, as I've said, it's going to be a difficult time. This time can be described as a pause. To some, it's a pause. If at the start of the pandemic you were so busy, you would actually experience things slowing down. I have been consulted by several companies, mostly retail companies, and they say that they needed to close their shops because first is the lockdowns are actually limiting their way of getting profits. It's actually a pause. And what they're doing now is taking advantage of that pause by training their people and by studying their future prospects. It could also be a time of disruption. Kasi nung dati, busy-busy ka nga, biglang suddenly, because things slowed down, biglang na-disrupt ka kasi wala ka ng activity. To some, it's a downturn. And because of the downturn, it became uncertain. The future became uncertain. Kasi hindi mo alam kung kailan yung next customer mo dadating, kung kailan yung next client mo dadating. Meron bang job na open ngayon? Kailan ba sasagot ang employer? So, things are at a standstill. Kaya ayaw ng gobyerno nagkaka-lockdown. Now, I'm not pro Duterte. I'm also not pro Robredo. Okay, I'm just a neutral, and I'm actually just trying to cope with the pandemic. That's why I refrain from also ranting against the government because it won't help. We are in this together. We are all in the Philippines. So we must do our fair share in making things or helping the government improve the situation. Ranting in social media, it won't do anything good. It would only create more chaos and more worry doon sa mga makakabasa. That's why it's also a source of apprehension. So this time is a time also of apprehensiveness. Kasi yung iba, kaya sila nagkakaroon ng anxiety is doon sa mga nababasa nila. Last year, I actually shut down my social media, my personal social media account. I wasn't actually reading the rants of my friends because I didn't want to focus on that one. I didn't want to also be overwhelmed with bad news. And to a lot of people, even the experts, since this is unprecedented, this is the first time that the coronavirus unleashed its rampage, right? And it's the first time that we are dealing with such a virus. It's unprecedented. So we don't know what we're dealing with yet. Yung mga nakikita nating solutions, hindi pa yan yung solusyon. Kasi nakikita nyo nga, may mga variants na. Different kinds of variants. Okay, I read the news last night as I was preparing for this talk. Meron pang isang variant from France. Hindi yan nag-a-appear when you take a swab test. It's not detected by a PCR test. So that's the new variant from France. So hindi talaga, whatever we read now, those are just pieces of information and it's not yet the conclusion. So today, the reason that I said yes for this talk was this is actually an opportunity for me to pay it forward. When I was starting out, I was blessed with a lot of mentors. My bosses were my mentors. So I started in mass media. So before being an HR practitioner, before being a lot of things now, I was a reporter. I was covering the business beat. I was doing it for the sister company of GMA 7, which was CityNet 27. In the year 2000, it became QTV and it closed down. However, when I started working, I was one of its writers and business reporters. And I was just covering the stock market. I didn't even have any plan. Whoever said yes to me in the interview, okay, I would just say yes. Life was very simple to me back then. Okay, I didn't even ask about how much I was going to be paid. So I just wanted to try it out because it seemed like an exciting career. I didn't have the opportunity of having a career guide. My career guide was a professor and he didn't really help me that much. You know what he said when I graduated? Do you know what he said? He said that I should forget whatever I learned in college. That's not much help. So that's what he said. However, okay, since we are talking about your career path, I would like to do it over again. If I was talking to my younger self, I would advise my younger self to have a more forward vision. So take the time during Holy Week to reflect what you really want to get out of this field. Would you really want to be a psychiatrist? Would you want to be in media? Would you want to be a teacher? So think about that. Have a more forward vision of your own future. And consider the whole vision. Don't just think about avoiding math. You cannot avoid math. You will never avoid math. But consider these things. What do you really want to do? And what can you do to help other Filipinos? Of course, when you do your plans, you have to be flexible because sometimes it's a matter of resources. You know why I actually forgot my plans of becoming a documentarist because most of the resources such as cameras, equipment, etc. it was very expensive. That's why I'm redoing whatever I did, okay, by advising you. Because when I was in college, the only reason I was actually enrolled in English studies. And my parents wanted me to become a lawyer. I didn't want to become a lawyer because actually I felt na nakakatanda yung mga pinagsasabi doon sa ano sa yung mga lawsuits na yan. Ay nakaka-wrinkles yan, okay? So basta masyadong away. I'm actually a peaceful person and I really don't like conflict. I come from a family of lawyers actually. And ever since being a child, I've actually been privy to discussions on lawsuits. And I didn't want to have that. That's why I just said yes to English studies because it was generic enough and I was thinking in the later on in college I could shift to a better course. What else? And during my time, communication was a big thing. Everyone wanted to be in media. And so when I got the opportunity, I shifted to mass comm. So I didn't have a career counselor. I just did things because, well, it felt it was the right thing to do. I just did it out of intuition and out of observing things that, things that were lucrative. However, later on in my career as a reporter, I felt that there was something missing. And I had an opportunity working as the head writer of a TV station. And I was actually coaching a lot of writers. And at that time, my interest were swayed towards management because I was part of management already. So I took courses in Ateneo and I took the Leadership Management Development Program. At that time, it was 65,000 only. It cost 65,000 only. Right now, if you invest in that course, it's now 300,000. It's like a college degree already in private schools. However, I still felt that it was a good investment because I was able to also interact with line managers. So people whose language was about profit, financial statements, total quality management, economics. And I felt at that time I had the aptitude for management. So your career plan, this career plan, it's not going to be set in stone. At this time, you're just going to answer how do you envision your future? How do you envision yourself having purpose? If you envision yourself as having a good family, that's okay. But let's go deeper. How will you find your purpose in life? So that's what you're going to reflect on this Holy Week. And then there's also one concept that I will tell you. You have to stop comparing your success to the success of others. Because if you do that, you're just going to end up being jealous. So stop that. I have stopped comparing myself to other people when I was in high school. Because in high school, I knew that I was different from my other classmates. Well, first, I was always president. From grade school to high school, I was always class president. And then I was also doing a lot. I was also part of the student council, and even in college I was part of the student council. So I knew, even if I didn't have a plan, and even if a lot of people were criticizing me, and even if I was told no all the time, I knew that I was different from other people. How about you guys? I'm sure you're different. Everyone is different from each other, because that's the beauty of being a human being. That's why I like this field. I like human resources. It's an opportunity to meet different kinds of people. And I'm sorry, but I'm one of those HR practitioners that actually don't rely on psychological tests. I'm sorry, but I don't rely on it. You, because it's actually for basic, okay, for basic selection of candidates, certain tests are valid. However, I actually am a proponent of raw talent. When I interview, I see the test, I look at the test and evaluate it. I also would like to interview the person and meet the person and see if the results of the test match with what I see during the interview. That's a more holistic approach. Again, I'm not saying that those tests are invalid. They actually help you see what the person is. A good test is the Myers-Briggs test, INTJ, ESTJ. So it's good to know what their personality type is through that test. There are other tests that the company can invest in, and those are valid. However, I don't rely on it 100%. Because, for example, in sales, even if the psychological test tell you that it's a warning, it also depends if the person can meet the quota. Therefore, I would just still would hire that person and see if the person can perform during the probationary period. Kasi pag nag-rely tayo sa test, minsan meron pala doon na magandang talent, hindi mo nabigyan ng opportunity because nag-rely ka lang sa isang aspeto ng recruitment, which is psychological tests. So that's why I would still try and observe that person during probationary period. So people, we have to be flexible because talent is everywhere. We just have to discover it. And that's why I'm in human resources. That's the beauty of being in human resources. You get to meet a lot of people and you get to savor and cherish the beauty of human intelligence. Now, as you go through your journey, you have to seek out activities and projects and challenges that would build your confidence and help you explore your identity. Try to find out what your superpower is. Oh, ito si Mariber. Ano ba ang superpower mo?
Hindi ko pa po alam ano ba talaga.
So this is a good time. You're still young, and then you can actually expose yourself to situations and opportunities that can help you uncover your superpower. Sino pa diyang group member nyo na hindi nag-recite ngayon? So, anyhow, this is a good time to rethink your career plans. And I would advise you to go through these steps. So here, any profession, any field, okay, they have different kinds of career paths. We have four. So these career paths, okay, I'm just going to run through it to give you an idea, okay, how you're going to enter the workforce when you graduate. So people like me, HR, architects, IT professionals, marketing, okay, we are considered knowledge professionals. So we contribute to an organization through our knowledge and time. Because we are an expert on something, okay, we are tasked to solve problems in the organization. And we're given a salary. So that's a knowledge professional. Now there are skill-oriented professionals, and these are professionals that have to do physical work or hands-on work. Ito yung mga chef, ito yung mga artista, ito yung mga plumbers, mechanics, lawyers. So these are skill-oriented professionals. If you feel that you cannot hold a job, feeling nyo, okay, 9 to 5, hindi nyo kaya, you can actually go the route of entrepreneurship. Madaming millennials ngayon, okay, they try to have a small business. It's just a modest business. And because they want to be their own boss. Or it can be a group of friends, okay, they try to have, they sell fashion items, sometimes food. So that's entrepreneurship. You are your own boss and you can set up your own venture. So you're not bounded by reporting to a supervisor. And then when you browse the internet and then browse social media, you have independent freelancers. Ito yung mga virtual assistants, ESL teachers. So they sell a service or skill, but they are considered as independent service contractors. They report to a boss, but they're not really required to do their jobs from 9 to 5. So you can consider these kinds of career paths when you enter the workforce. And it's actually a matter of thinking about your own limitations or what you can do or what you can offer an organization or an outfit. A lot of people ask me, ano ba yung lucrative dyan? Alam mo, pag ang iniisip mo ay being lucrative, it's actually how you make out of it. There are people who just rely on a salary, but because they save, they are able to save up capital and they can eventually start their own business. There are also people who can moonlight, so they have a 9 to 5 job, but because they want to hasten the process, they also become independent freelancers. Ang tanong, what are you willing to sacrifice for that? Yung pinagsasabay ang being an employee and being a freelancer, meron. Actually, ginawa ko rin yon. When I was younger, ginawa namin ng asawa ko yon. We were employees, but we also set up our own business and we were a website development company. Ano yung effect? Wala, puro eye bags kami. Hindi kami natutulog. So are you willing to do that? So it's a matter of commitment. It's not a matter of kung mataas ang sweldo dyan. Actually, what I would advise you is when you try to figure out what your career path is, secondary lang ang money matters. Kasi money matters once once makuha mo yung level na yon, parang wala na eh. Parang psychologically, parang tinatabangan ka na eh. Kasi na-accomplish mo na. So thinking of career in terms of in financial terms, it's good that you are thinking of finances, okay? But if you think of it in salary, in terms of salary and monetary terms, it's limiting. I want you guys to be unbounded, no limitations, because that's what a career is. It dep like my career, if I were to plot it out, I think it's messy. And I think I would never get hired again by HR professionals. You know why? Because sasabihin nila, wala kang focus. Okay, HR professional ka, HR consultant ka, you wear many hats. Kasi kaya ng time ko and kaya ng katawan ko. And also, it's about commitment because even if you have a lot of things going on or activities going on, it's about committing to it. That's why when I say yes to a person, I always make it a point that I'm committed, and when we have a meeting or we have a webinar, I show up early. Commitment is what you need. So, are you willing to commit your time and talent? Kasi yung iba, at your age, ang iba yung kanilang interest. I will not make a judgment. However, I would say that when you commit yourself 100% to a certain goal, you will become successful in achieving it. So, is success a matter of skill, knowledge, talent, or what? It's actually a matter of commitment. Of course, it's not all commitment kasi yung iba magko-commit lang hindi naman sila nag-aral. Okay? Hindi naman sila nag-prepare. What I'm saying is have the foundation of studying, having the right knowledge and set of skills, 'di ba? But commit. Yung iba kasi sino-shortcut nila. In fact, there was a time before the pandemic, parang ang gusto na lang maging social media influencer, vlogger. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? In fact, ngayon, because of my YouTube channel, you can consider me a vlogger. There's nothing wrong with that. However, you have to have the right foundation. I'm corny and I sound like your tita, a nagging tita, but there's not really nothing that beats having a degree. And it doesn't matter what school you came from. During my time, palaging sinasabi nila na, ano yan, UP, Ateneo, Lasal. Well, alam mo, I've hired people from Subic, okay? So, whatever the popular or the most prestigious school in Subic was, okay, I hired. Kasi makikita mo naman sa interview kung masipag yung tao or committed. So it doesn't matter to me as a recruiter what school you came from. As long as the diploma is legitimate and as long as I can see during the interview that the person can commit to the job. So commitment is really what you need to be successful in whatever endeavor that you take. Magbi-business ka nga pero hindi mo naman gagawin yung bookkeeping. Magbi-business ka ano mo siya, iaasa mo siya sa mga partners mo. Hindi rin okay 'yon. Halimbawa, you want to be a virtual assistant. You also have to learn to talk to your clients and do customer service. Hindi mo pwedeng, hindi ka pwedeng oo lang ng oo or aasa ka na lang kung may assignment na ibibigay ang client mo. You have to initiate certain things also with your client. So, it's not a matter of skill, knowledge, or the school that you come from. Okay? It's a matter of preparing yourself and committing yourself. This one, okay, this is career resilience. A lot of people have been asking me, how do you safeguard yourself from the effect of pandemic or economic crisis? Actually, you can never be prepared. However, okay, if you have career resilience or kasi career resilience is built by first having a good track record. Okay, for example, you have a series of jobs, and when we backtrack, when we call as character for character reference purposes, when the HR calls them, and all these companies say that you are you are a good employee, then that is a good track record. It's a series of good track records and also being able to prepare to the demands of a future project by upskilling yourself. So, career resilience is actually the ability to adjust to a career change or a phase in your career. And this is also by upskilling yourself so that you are able to adapt to what the market demands. Alam mo, ang pagkalugi, failure, unexpected job loss, ano yan, the likelihood, the probability of that happening is very high. Hindi mo yan makokontrol na hindi mangyayari. However, career resilience is about being able to recover. So halimbawa nag-fail kayo sa isang bagay, just get up, brush it off, and then start over again. So that is what resilience is. Imaginein mo yung isang puno, 'di ba? Balete tree, 'di ba? Makita mo, ang balete tree kahit may bagyo, kahit anong sakuna, naandyan pa rin siya. That is what being resilient is. And your goal actually is to have career resilience. So how do you develop this? So actually, I've actually given you a mouthful. So I want you to actually step back during this Holy Week and find your purpose. So ask yourself, why are you doing these things? Always go back to your why. Importante yan. Kasi pagka meron kang purpose, kahit anong distraction, hindi ka madadaig. Distractions are everywhere. Pwedeng nag-break kayo ng boyfriend mo or girlfriend mo. O tumawa si Kate. Bakit kaya? Pwedeng limited ang budget mo. May financial problem kayo. However, when you know why you are doing a certain thing, your purpose, why you get up in the morning, why you work, 'di ba? Bakit ka nagpapakahirap para makapasa sa college? Then you are guided and motivated to achieve that. So, importante ang purpose. So, everything starts in the mind. Also, reflect. Yung reflection kasi, there's a certain point kasi na, of course, halimbawa nag-fail ka palagi, you have to ask also yourself, bakit nangyari yun? That's why, ang question na why, napaka-important yan sa atin eh. Why did it happen? What did I not do? What did I do? Bakit ako nag-fail? Bakit ako nabigyan ng failing grade ni ma'am? Tanungin natin ang sarili natin, bakit? Kasi kayo lang ang makakasagot niyan. And that is reflection. This is what I've learned by studying psychology and sociology. The reason that human beings are different from all the animals in the animal kingdom is because we have the power to reflect and to actually guide our actions by our mind. I'm not sure if it's done by any other kind of animal. Kasi tayo purposive tayo. We can eat in a planned schedule, 'di ba? Hindi katulad ng ibang mga animals, 'di ba? What do they do? 'Di ba? They just eat. Okay, when they see food, they will eat. Pero tayo, we can diet pa nga eh. Magkikito diet pa nga tayo, we can select our food. So, our mind is very powerful and use that to reflect. Because during reflection, during a quiet moment, doon lalabas ang inyong mga answers. My community, HR Shouts and Whispers, we've produced, actually by Monday, after this, I'm going to announce our webinar topics. Pero by Monday, we will have 82 episodes already. Most of the topics there are a product of my reflection, both as an HR practitioner and as a coach. Hindi ako nangungopia, hindi ako, well, tumitingin ako, nagre-research ako, pero hindi ako nangungopia sa ginagawa ng iba. And because a lot of people have told me that they like the topics and they like the FB Live interviews that we do. And that I am grateful for. And those are a product of my reflection. Talk to yourselves by reflecting and meditating. Also, when you graduate, don't stop learning. Invest in yourselves. Don't don't wait for companies to invest in you. Paano kung hindi ka nagtatrabaho sa company? You're an entrepreneur. Invest in your own upskilling. Also, in the process, have friends. Cultivate relationships. Kasi mas maganda ang feeling pag madami kang friends and lesser of enemies. Kaya sinasabi ko, don't ever compare yourself to other people because you are unique and because we want to also protect ourselves from the jealousy germ. Madami kasi dyan, palagi, kaya sila unhappy. You know, the secret actually to being happy is what? Is actually to protect yourself from sources of negativity. Ang kalaban lang natin sarili natin. And one of it is, palagi tayong tumitingin sa iba, sa mga success ng iba. Alam mo, sinasabi nila, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. However, I believe that you can make your own grass green as well by taking care of it. It will be greener than the others if you water it every day, if you feed it good food, healthy food, 'di ba? So, cultivate relationships kasi everyone is your friend. Tsaka it's really hard to work if you have a lot of enemies. So, tigilan na natin ang pakikipag-away, ang pagchichismis, hindi nakakatulong yan. Okay? Just focus on your goals and then cultivate relationships with people who can help you achieve those goals. And last and but not the least, okay, this is the most important part. Take care of yourself. How do you take care of yourself? The most simple ways, okay? If sinabi ng government, lockdown, lockdown. Okay, mag-wear ng mask, mag-vitamin C, and then also, what? Sleep. That's the most simple way of taking yourself. Also, take care of yourself by not allowing negative thoughts to infiltrate your mind. You are all psychologists or future psychologists. You know the effect of negativity. So you know it more than I do because you studied it for 4 years. Correct? So take care of yourself. And because you are able to take care of yourself, you will be able to take care of other people. If you are the type that would like to be of service to your communities, okay, don't even allow yourself to be overwhelmed by the volume of those people seeking help from you. Kasi madami dyan, help lang ng help, pero hindi naman nila inaalagaan yung sarili nila. Okay, so ngayon, actually for now, we can just talk about surviving the pandemic. And actually, one of it nga is a healthier venue is actually webinars such as this because we are able to have some guidance. I also learn from my audience and I also learn from my coaches. And we'll have an interaction after this. But for now, okay, I'll just have to say goodbye for now and temporarily. Okay, just be quiet. And then I will actually give the floor to the organizers so that we can address the questions in the audience.
Thank you so much for imparting your knowledge with us, Miss Christina. And at this juncture, we will be having the Q&A portion, which will be facilitated by Coleen. Coleen.
Yes, Jackie. So time check. It is currently 9:50. So for to start with our Q&A, so with our limited time, we will now be entertaining any concerns, clarifications, or questions that you would like to ask our speaker. For participants in the Zoom meeting, you may raise your hands to virtually or type your questions in the chat box. For those in the FB Live, you may type your questions in the comment section. So guys, do you have any questions, guys? So we have a question from Miss Eliza Salinas. She would like to ask, ma'am, what advice can you give to someone whose dream career is vague?
Everyone dreams big, actually. So if you have a very big dream, you have to be very specific. Because if it's too big and it's a little bit generic, it's going to be overwhelming for you. So you have to break it down into a series of goals. And those goals, it's easier for you to manage your time and resources as well if you have smaller goals. So I would advise those that are dreaming big. It's okay actually to dream big. If you want to be a celebrity, you want to be a blogger, is okay. But you have to break it down into a series of steps.
So thank you for answer, ma'am. Does anyone else have questions? So this is from an anonymous listener. What are your tips for graduating psychology students who don't feel that they are competent enough to be in the workforce due to not having hands on experience or training due to having online classes?
That's the problem of many graduating students nowadays because the school patterns were disrupted, and therefore they feel that they have inadequate skills or knowledge when they enter the workforce. What they can do, because I'm a proponent of free learning, so what we do actually is offer free trainings. So what we do is there are some topics that this is actually a shameless plug, okay, but sometimes, okay, you have to go through some certifications, okay, attend certain forums that are available on social media and participate in them to build your confidence. So build your confidence first. Second is if there are free trainings that are available or you have access to, then attend those because that will supplement your college degree. Third is participate also in advocate work. There are some communities here on social media. They get interns or they get some volunteers. Then volunteer on that projects, and that will give you some real life experience. Of course, you're not going to get paid for the advocate work, but at least you will be exposed to having to deal with responsibilities, also working within a team, so those are good avenues for new graduates right now. So I actually empathize with the new graduates now because I think that because of this disruption you feel like you have inadequate skills. However, if you challenge yourself and then reach out to various communities on social media and participate in advocate work, then you will be it's like having your practicum, informal or formal.
Thank you, ma'am. So, since we are running out of time, we will only be able to uh, answer one more question. So, this is from Miss Patricia Lugarta. So, good morning, ma'am. What if our parents are not quite happy with the careers we want to have? How do we address this problem, knowing that it is important to what our parents thinks as well?
Well, that's a complicated question. Number one is you have to be able to find out why they are unhappy with your choice. Second is eventually you need to acknowledge that parents disagree because I suppose they are being protective of you. So you have to sit down with your parents seriously and discuss it with them. I don't have the answer for it, but I can tell you that that's the first step to getting them to agree with you. My second answer to that is sometimes, okay, parents really react like that because as I've said, they're trying to protect you from failure. Maybe they don't want you to fail. That's why they are disagreeing to your choice of career. However, I have my actually my choice of career they didn't agree to. I was a reporter. I was in mass media and they thought it was not a real job at first. However, they saw that I was really passionate and committed to it, that they eventually gave their support. So, this is actually something that you need to prove to them as well that you are happy and then you're not being abused in your choice of job. Because when they see that you have problems and you're the one suffering for that choice, that's when they disagree and try to be protective of the child. So it's actually just that, okay? Communicating to them and reassuring them that you are okay and you're actually not being abused or exploited in the field that you have chosen.
So thank you so much, ma'am. As much as we'd like to cater to everyone's questions, we are sadly out of time. However, you may message us your questions in our official Gmail account, earlyjobprospectsinsight@gmail.com, and we will try our best to answer your questions. Thank you so much for participating, guys and ma'am. So Jackie.
Thank you, Coleen. So at this time, we cannot end this session without acknowledging the effort and knowledge that was shared to us by our speaker. So I give the floor to Ms. Mariber to present the certificate of appreciation to our speaker. Marv.
Thank you, Jackie. So the University of San Jose Recoletos School of Arts and Sciences and Department of Psychology and Never Information Sciences present this certificate of recognition to Ms. Maria Cristina Estacio Reclamado, CPP CPHR, for being the resource speaker during the webinar entitled Career Options, Am I In or Out? Early Job Prospects in the Psychology-Related Careers in the Midst of Pandemic, given at University of San Jose Recoletos on March 27, 2021, via Zoom and FB Live. Signed by yours truly, Mariber Salarda, Committee Head, our advisor, Dr. Aurora Q. Pestaño, our chairman of Department of Psychology and Library Information Sciences, Mr. Leo M. Antiporta, registered psychologist, and of course, our Dean, School of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Glenn G. Pajares. Back to you, Jackie.
Once again, on behalf of everyone who joined us this morning, thank you very much, Miss Christina. So, to wrap up this talk, let us give our attention to Miss Kate as she will be giving us the meaningful parting message.
Thank you for that, Miss Jackie. So to formally end this webinar, on behalf of the organizers, we would like to thank Ms. Reclamado for accepting the invitation as a resource speaker and for sharing her knowledge and expertise. Indeed, this has been a valuable experience to us students in preparation for choosing our future careers and opening our minds to the opportunity that is waiting for us in the midst of pandemic. Thank you very much, Miss. We would like we would also like to thank Mr. Layo Anteporta, the chairman of the Department of Psychology and Library Information Sciences, along with Dr. Glenn G.P. Harris, the Dean of School of Arts and Sciences, that gave us an opportunity to hold a webinar, and to our advisor, Dr. Aurora Q. Pisanyo, for the advice and guidance that made this successful and fruitful webinar, to Madam May Wong and other faculty members, and to our participants and those who are in FB Live and Zoom. Thank you for joining and participating all throughout the webinar. Back to you, Jackie.
Thank you, Kate. So, please be reminded that the post-test and post-evaluation will be posted on the Facebook page, Seminar on Current Issues in Psychology. Stay tuned for the next webinar. It will be at 10:30 a.m. entitled Duty Ka, Laban Lang, Mental Health in the Lens of Human Resource. Thank you very much and adelante. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Madu. Thank you.
Yes, thank you po.
Ma- Uh,
So I'm glad I was able to help you guys. Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you
bye.
very much. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Organizer.
Okay, thank you